total population control. Bill Binney says that's what the National Security Agency wants. He should know. He was technical director of that agency.
Congress is simply a puppet for NSA and the intelligence community. They do exactly what they say. There's a lot of money involved in this, and a lot of people make money on this, lots of contracts and so on, and empires are built this way.
I could be, rendered by the CIA. I could have people come after me, or any of their third-party partners. They work closely with a number of other nations.
Since I started a lot of these programs inside NSA, I know exactly what they do. I know how they organized it, and I know what they did to it to make it into a bulk acquisition, bulk spying program on everybody in the planet. They initially started with the U.S. persons, and that's why I left so quickly. In fact, it took me 2.5 weeks to get out of NSA once I found out they were spying on U.S. citizens in bulk. This is not just metadata. This is not what they're pulling in content to. It's being done under Executive Order 12333, Section 2.3c for U.S. citizens. That's where they can take in all their content and maintain it and store it and search it, even without a warrant. On a massive scale, and just call it coincidental collection because they're after that one dope dealer or whatever it is that's on the fiber somewhere. But they can take in everything on the fiber and call it coincidental.
Any analyst at any time can target anyone, any selector anywhere. Where those communications will be picked up depends on the range of the sensor networks and the authorities that analyst is empowered with. Not all analysts have the ability to target everything. But I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
They started this bulk acquisition early on as a way of getting more and more money. That's been their justification from the beginning. It's been a financial one that builds their empires, builds massive contracting organizations and massive contracts. I mean, we're talking tens of billions of dollars every year. I mean, the budget for intelligence within the United States is on the order of $100 billion a year. That's for 16 agencies, and they're not audited on how they spend the money, by the way.
NSA and the intelligence community in general is focused on getting intelligence wherever it can, by any means possible. It believes, on the grounds of sort of a self-certification, that they serve the national interest.
There is no real oversight, and Congress is simply a puppet for NSA and the intelligence community. They do exactly what they say. In fact, they advocate spying on U.S. citizens. I mean, they were created originally out of the Church Committee investigations in the 1970s because they were spying at that time on U.S. citizens.
If you do that in secret consistently, as the government does when it wants to benefit from a secret action that it took, it'll kind of give its officials a mandate to go, hey, tell the press about this thing and that thing, so the public is on our side. But they rarely, if ever, do that when an abuse occurs.
They are violating their charter in doing and advocating spying on U.S. citizens. But it goes much beyond that. I mean, as an intelligence agent, the problem once they started this bulk collection is too much data because you can't get through it. It's impossible. It's like making a Google query on a whole set of data every day and getting 1 million returns and having to go through the 1 million to find your targets and do technical assessments of intentions and capabilities. You simply can't do it. And so therefore they continue to fail. And the principal reason is because they're taking in bulk acquisition stuff. But it gives them a great set of information to control their population if they want to do it.
The NSA specifically targets the communications of everyone. It ingests them by default. It collects them in its system, and it filters them, and it analyzes them, and it measures them, and it stores them for periods of time, simply because that's the easiest, most efficient, and most valuable way to achieve these ends.
So there's that, plus they're gathering information on every leader in every government of the world. So that means they have information to be able to blackmail everybody. This data is not just used by NSA. This is the FBI and the DEA and Drug Enforcement Administration going directly into that data with no oversight or recording at all by anybody. There's a lot of money involved in this, and a lot of people make money on this, lots of contracts and so on. And empires are built this way.
It's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression. You realize that you might be willing to accept any risk, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is, so long as the public gets to make their own decisions about how that's applied.
Our President Lincoln basically said it when he was dedicating the military cemetery in Gettysburg after the battle. He said the question really is whether a government of the people, by the people, or for the people will perish from this earth. And that means democracy, and that's really what this fight is all about. Privacy is liberty, is democracy, and we need to stand up and fight it.
How many of you in the audience have a smartphone with you right now? You know, an iPhone or an Android phone. It's everyone, right? I want you to imagine that right now there's a Russian company whose entire business is based around the idea of developing a kind of digital burglary tool. And they go by the name the NSO Group. Their product used to work like this. They'd send you a time-sensitive text message with a link in it, something that they think you're likely to click, like a package delivery notification or an alert that one of your family members has died, and these are the funeral arrangements, and are you going to be there? And if you click this link, and because they can try 100 different times in 100 different ways, eventually everyone does, your phone now belongs to whoever sent you that message. You have been hacked by this product. Now, the scary thing is because of refinements in this practically criminal product, and it has a real name because this is a real-life example. It's called Pegasus. It's now being reported that they no longer need you to click anything. No user interaction is necessary. All they need is your phone number, and they can hack your phone. Now, from that point on, everything in the entire history of that phone, they can instantly and immediately copy. And everything that happens on your phone from that day forward, every place you go, everyone you call, everything you read, every photograph, or because they can turn on your camera and they can turn on your microphone whenever they want, not just when you want it, everything that simply passes by that device, everything your phone is a part of, they are now a part of. I want you to reflect on that capability and the nature of it being created and provided by this, Russian enterprise. And think about this from the legal angle. In their defense, they say they only sell this under contract to legitimate customers, only to law enforcement agencies, only to police, only to governments, and only for the purpose, under the contract, of targeting terrorists and criminals. Does that sound better? So many people today, around the world, in developed societies, right? We're not talking crazy authoritarian regimes. We're not talking Saudi Arabia, China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, whoever you don't like. But we're talking about France. We're talking about Germany. We're talking about the United States. We're talking about Israel. They believe the rule of law and the legality of a thing is the beginning and the end of the conversation. But I want to remind you that the legality of a thing is very different from the morality of it. If a company sells a product with a single purpose, breaking into the devices relied upon by private individuals, from you to journalists to judges to, and I'm not making this up, the president of the Mexican Senate, who was in opposition at the time, how can this be the kind of situation we want to find ourselves in? Their only product is access to other people's belongings. Their only product is access to the things sitting in your pocket right now. And the most important thing to understand out of anything I'm going to say tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Under all these laws, this is not a crime. The business model of commercializing public insecurity is the biggest threat to the future of cybersecurity that no one is talking about. We know about Facebook. We know about Google. We know about all of the telecommunications networks and their willful collaboration with governments, even beyond what the law allows. But this is coming, and it's coming quickly, because even if you trust Israel, even if you trust French companies to do the same thing, these companies do not have a monopoly on this business model. Russia is doing the same thing. China is doing the same thing. And we are creating a dynamic in which the insecurity of critical infrastructure is profitable. These are the things that nobody wants us to know, but everybody needs to know. And it is this principle that's all too easy to forget in our comfortable lives of accepting risk on an individual level in order to improve things on a collective level that moves us toward a better world. Now, this question that I ask you tonight, is it better, is it worse? What's going on with surveillance? Are things improving? Is not the real question. The question that I asked tonight should be very familiar because you heard it 5 years ago. This wasn't about surveillance. Surveillance was the mechanism of discussion, but the fundamental topic was democracy and the disempowerment of the public. The fact that we are being transformed from citizens, partners to government, instead to subjects of it. The world that we live in is one that we did not design, we did not approve, and we do not control. The question, ladies and gentlemen, is what are you going to do about it?